Chelsea beat Palace on Sunday afternoon, but the performance hanging on towards the end against Crystal Palace just to make sure that they got 3 points, because that seemed to have been something that had eluded them for a very long time. It was quite a painful experience. But don't worry, because coming to the rescue is £88 million Mykhaylo Mudryk. As European football expert Kevin Hatchard, what do you make of the acquisition? We'll talk about the shenanigans, which is basically Chelsea waiting for all these great players to be linked with other clubs and then swooping in and nicking them by paying them more money and paying a bigger transfer fee right at the very end. And the efficacy of that. But what about the player himself? How good is he?
He's good. We don't know how good he is just yet because he's not had a huge amount of football. And it was actually a Premier League manager that gave him the chance to shine when Roberto De Zerbi was at Shakhtar. He decided that he wanted to put him front and centre. He wanted him to be a major part of his team. And he took that chance and he ran with it. And he was excellent in the Champions League earlier this season. I mean, when you think of what's happened to Shakhtar, obviously the war in Ukraine, as a result of that, FIFA decided that players could unilaterally suspend their contracts and leave Shakhtar. So suddenly Mudryk, having been brought into the team previously by De Zerbi, was the main man, really. He was excellent in some of those group games in the Champions League. They shouldn't have been anywhere near qualifying for the last 16, but they made a real fist of it. He's somebody who plays primarily down the left, but he can play a bit in central areas. He likes to come in. He's kind of a reverse Robin, if you like. He likes to come in on his right and do some damage. He's got great acceleration. He's definitely a very exciting player. Chelsea have probably played over the odds, but Shakhtar were driving a hard bargain.
Well, Chelsea have had a problem in midfield, haven't they, Crook? So it seems like the policy is just not to play one and just have a couple of defenders at the back, and then Ziyech, Mudryk, who else have we got there? Aubameyang, João Felix, Sterling, Fofana, Havertz, Mount. Just play all-out attack. It seems a very odd strategy, doesn't it, to bring in another big-name player, young player, for this amount of money. And Chelsea have spent a lot of money on young, up-and-coming potential rather than real proven talent during this transfer window. Well, listen, I hope it works, because if it doesn't, they've wasted another batch of cash.
Yeah, and obviously the reason for the long-term contract is because it helps negate FFP, because basically the transfer fee gets broken down per annum, per year of the contract. But it's a big risk, isn't it? If Mudryk comes in and flops, suddenly you've got a player who's tied to at least a 7.5 year, possibly an 8.5 year contract with a year's option. So I don't really understand the approach. We hear that maybe Raheem Sterling could be allowed to leave as a result of this signing. He's only been there a few months. What does that tell you about Todd Bowley's tactics in the transfer market in the summer? I don't believe that Mudryk was particularly high on their list of targets. Even up until a week ago, it just became a deal that they obviously thought they could get done. Arsenal, in many ways, had done their homework for them. So, yeah, it's a strange approach, particularly when there's other positions that they're crying out for investment. Central midfield, as you mentioned, for a long time is an issue. And still, they need an out-and-out number 9 for me. That's why they're struggling to see off teams like Crystal Palace at home.
Yeah, they need a new goalkeeper. They need a replacement right back. They need a replacement left back. They need 2 centre midfielders, and they need a striker. But hey, just keep collecting those number 10s. It's like he's got a Panini sticker and he only wants the shinies.
Yeah, the thing about Chelsea's transfer policy, by the way, just quickly, I'm on board with bringing in young players. That's fine. The bit I don't get is the summer. Why would you bring in Koulibaly and Sterling, guys who are established for, fair chunk of money, and then go and get all of these young players on top of that? So it's clearly something they've pivoted already in that first season. So, it's quite a strange approach.
Yeah, it's a good point, and it just sort of highlights the problems that Chelsea are having.